So this is really showing that this is a moment where the public very actively wants a policy like this, and this policy is imperative given Vermont's existing needs and basically the federal government pushing more and more costs onto states as they defund really key services that Americans and Vermonters rely on. So due to the passage of H.R. 1, the top 1% of Vermonters are set to receive an average annual tax cut of $57,000 per year, beginning in 2026.
Usually I think about the glossary of shame as like when we use some kind of like jargon or like insider terms. That's good.
I think this is worse, but go ahead.
This is, okay. Actually, you're right. Yeah. So this is like the glossary of like truly shameful.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just the glossary of shame.
Pretentiousness. Hello, Vermont. I'm Andy Julo.
And I'm Joanna Grossman.
And this is There's No Way in Creemee.
Vermont, politics, culture, and beyond.
Thanks for joining us.
Hello, and welcome to There's No A in Creemee. How you doing, Andy?
Terrific. We are here in the podcast office.
We're in the podcast office today. Yes. I love recording here. I'm getting into it.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
There's more going on. We're in Burlington, so things are happening. You may hear some jackhammers. They're working on the sidewalk outside.
Yeah, that's real.
Yep.
We have some lovely sponsors who are lending us some space, and thank you to them. So there's a little bit of outside noise. Yeah, we really are in the middle of Burlington, and things are happening. But it's fun to be here.
Sure.
Yeah.
I spend a week in the big city.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all the excitement I can take.
You're enamored that you can get pizza anytime you want here.
I don't know if I'm enamored. I've just noted that it's just very fast. If I say, hey, I want pizza, you can get like 10 minutes later, you can have a pizza in your hand.
I just never, that's clearly something I took for granted, being like a big city girl.
Yeah.
And then coming here, to me, it was like, I felt outraged. This isn't going to help me win votes, but I felt outraged that I couldn't get a sandwich after 5 in my neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that was outrageous. And
that's an urban princess, yeah.
Yeah, like for real. But I've learned to adjust, and I appreciate the benefits.
All right, the pizza place from our house is 25 minutes away.
Okay.
So either you plan on an hour down and back, or you plan ahead, and so you get it on your way home. That's how that works.
I hear ya.
All right.
Yeah, but also you have like a lake and like a berry farm and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'm not arguing that I want to be here.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's trade-offs.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's fun to be like right in Burlington.
If you say so.
Yeah. Although I love my whole district.
Boy.
Okay. So we have a new intro, a little reel people would have just heard if they're tuning in.
Yeah, I mean, that episode, and it's been a couple episodes, but that episode we were talking about how we never got a recording of Chuck after he passed.
My rooster.
Yes, but someone who cares about you sent me.
And Chuck.
And Chuck from Beyond sent a video clip and an audio clip, and we put together a new intro. So when you hear the rooster crow at the beginning of the episode, that is actually Chuck, and boy, he had some good pipes.
He did. Chuck was a very talented rooster.
Yeah. I think it's better than the stock rooster.
Yeah, he was. And he was such a good little guy. Like I loved him so much. Like he would really crow his ass off. Like he just would just crow and crow. And the neighbors swore to me up and down they didn't mind. It was nice of them to say, I hope it was really true.
Yeah.
But he would crow and crow, and I'd go out there sometimes, and not all the time. It was only like a finite season.
Sure.
But I'd go out and I'd be like, what's up, buddy? Like, I wanted to know, like, what, I felt like he was trying to tell me something,
Sure.
but I didn't speak rooster.
He's telling you the sun's up.
Yeah, that's
right?
all it was.
So the roosters do not crow in the winter?
Mine didn't.
Yours didn't.
Yeah, and he didn't crow. I mean, he did crow early, but it wasn't usually like all day. But sometimes it would feel like the record was skipping. Like he would just like keep going, and I'd be like, dude, like what? Like I'd try to like break the cycle, like distract him, or like give him a snack or like whatever. It didn't matter. Sometimes when he was on a roll, he just kept going.
I'm feeling grateful that we're not neighbors.
Yeah, well, he's
Although we've established my neighbors have a rooster.
You have a bad rooster.
I have a bad rooster that crows at odd hours, like 1:30 in the morning.
Chuck would never do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would never wake up his ladies. Like he really loved them.
Oh, that
the
is
hens.
inconsiderate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably not in his self-interest to wake up. Yeah.
Yeah, his buddies.
Right.
Yeah.
Make them cranky the next day.
Yeah, that's right. He was very protective of his girls. It was very sweet. He was a good man. So anyway, yay. It's very exciting that we have a little honor to him in the beginning.
We just thought we'd explain that in case you noticed the difference.
Yeah.
I like it because there's a little lead in with a bird and then a little bit of pause and then Chuck crows.
Yes. It's awesome.
The way my truck always had a delay, it would start and it would be like a half second into the track. So I'd miss half the rooster crow, but now I get the whole thing.
Oh, yay.
And I'm told that is a cardinal in the background before the crow.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's my back porch that
I
you're
talked
looking
to
at if you watch the video.
Ornithological expert about that.
My husband, Steve. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's hip to the birds.
Yes.
Yeah.
My knowledge of birds comes from only knowing the word ornithological.
My knowledge of birds only comes from knowing Steve.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but he's really good at it. I mean, even when we lived in New York City, like we used to go to Central Park. It's actually really interesting. So because New York City is like this big sprawling city, but then there's this like giant park, Central Park in the middle of it. There's almost like this little like bird migration highway of Central Park. So there's a certain time of year where you can go to see warblers in Central Park, and there's just like tons of them. It's really cool.
Sense. If you look at New York City from the air, you think, I'm going to go there if I'm a bird.
Totally.
Look at the surrounding area. There's Trenton. There's, Newark.
Yeah, it's awesome. Actually, I used to work for the Museum of Natural History, and they used to lead like birding tours like in Central Park, and you would see like all the warblers.
Sure.
It was really neat. Fun times.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you do last night, Andy?
Corinne and I went to the governor's debate at the Colchester Meeting House.
How was it?
It was a lot of fun. It's two really talented candidates who know what they're doing up there, and that made it a lot of fun.
That's so great that we've had that this early so that people can get to know them a little bit.
That's right, and it's on Town Meeting TV, and they're going to have two more, one in Vergennes and one more in Rutland. I thought it was one of the better debates I've attended. They're just two very different styles. They're very different in their philosophies, for the most part. I mean, the primaries sometimes tend to be the two candidates are very close in their ideology, and there's a little bit of a difference in separation there, and so it made for a good time. Hour and a half went very quick.
Yeah, and were there a lot of people there?
Yeah. I mean, they had tickets to, limit the capacity of the meeting house, and they had given them all out, so it was full.
Oh, wow. Yep. Excellent. That's so good. And so if folks want to learn a little more about the candidates, Amanda Janeau and Allie Richards, they've both been on our show. And you can check out our back episodes. They're both very impressive.
That's true.
Yeah. It's good that we're having a robust gubernatorial election this year.
That's right. And it's good that we're able to cross-market our own podcast.
Hey, sure. Why not?
That's right. Go back to those episodes.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So, okay. So
I can't read what that next thing on the cue card is, so you have to lead in it. What is that? Redo? Repo?
Rezo.
That's an S.
Sure.
How is that an S?
My notes are more just like little symbols to myself. It's not really fair to other people.
All right.
Yeah, so we have another installment in my journeys trying to codify neutrality within the Democratic Party and the primaries. So I introduced this resolution at the Democratic Party State Committee a couple weeks ago, and I think in the last episode I talked a little about that, how it's now being pushed to the bylaws committee. Then this week, a friend gave me a call and said, "Hey, did you know that the 3 dates have been set to talk about your resolution?" And I was like, "No."
Surprise.
And it's like a little hilarious, a little depressing that, I was not consulted about the dates. So how will I get to speak about it?
Why would you be?
Yes. So that's a little bit like, all right, we're still playing games. But I have the dates, and, assuming that my parenting work, podcast, and campaign schedule will allow, I'll try to be there and and talk about the use case, which is really that, last cycle, the Democratic Party did interfere in the primaries, and I'm hoping they won't this time. Yeah. To be continued.
To be continued.
Yeah.
I can actually read that next one.
Well, we talked a lot about it. Okay.
It was a very robust discussion.
this-
Go ahead.
This is like a borderline glossary of shame. Like usually I think about the glossary of shame as like when we use some kind of like jargon or like insider terms that are like we want to explain them. Like if we said JFO, we'd want people to know we're talking about the Joint Fiscal Office, right? That's good.
I think this is worse, but go ahead.
This is okay. Actually, you're right.
Yeah.
So this is like the glossary of like truly shameful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not just the glossary of shame.
Pretentiousness. Yes.
Pretentiousness. So I used the term cosmopsis last time. That's sort of like a household word. I'm married to an English professor, and I learned a lot of literary terms from him, and then they become household words, and I, at that point, consider them normal. But I have to say, I still think cosmopsis is a really great word. So cosmopsis means that you're so overwhelmed by the options that you can't choose. And I was referring to it as when I am canvassing like a jillion doors in a row, and then I come up to a house and it has 2 front doors with 2 doorbells,
Right.
and I hit a state of cosmopsis. And it's probably also like in part due to like dehydration and exhaustion. But cosmopsis is like you can't make a decision because there's too many options, and that's what that means.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll use that. I'm glad I learned a word from you.
Yeah.
I mostly it's been swear words so far, so this is one that I might be able to use in polite company.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really glad that I could help with that. What's the last thing on the list?
I mean, you're the one who wrote that. Is that interview nice thighs?
So no. However, we had a really great interview this week with Anika Heilweil from Public Assets Institute, and she talked to us about public assets and the Fair Share campaign. She was absolutely brilliant, and it was really fun to talk with her. And we were very inspired by that because the Fair Share campaign, you're going to hear all about it from the expert.
Came up quite a bit at the debate last night, too.
Oh, yeah? Do you want to expand on that at all?
Well, I mean, I think that when people talk about solutions to problems, the Fair Share campaign came up as a way of raising revenue that you could then use to address those problems, which is exactly what we did.
Yeah. Well, you and I talk about this all the time, right? That like it's not that I don't have a problem with a high income tax. I think it's a good idea, but like telling people like we should tax, like that's not that exciting, but telling people here's the nice things that we should have, and that's how we're going to pay for it. That's exciting. Nice things. That's what that says on the notes there.
It's not nice thighs.
It's not nice.
All right.
I mean, both are good, but
sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's often presented as almost like a punitive thing for people who make high income.
Right.
Versus a truly progressive tax.
Yeah.
We clearly have an issue with lower and middle class people struggling to afford life here in Vermont. And this is how we can sort of start to address that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's, if you think about Let's Grow Kids and like how they sold, the childcare funding, they didn't say, hey, let's do a new payroll tax. They said, hey, let's do childcare. And then P.S., this is how we're going to pay for it.
Right. This is the thing that's holding us back.
Yeah.
Our economy. And this is how we're going to address it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, once again, underscore, and Anika will talk about this, but this is recapturing cuts that HR1 gave to these folks. So they're not paying a penny more.
Right.
We are simply replacing a state tax with what was a federal tax.
Yeah.
The federal government took a look at our society and said, look, there's some economic hardship going on here. Clearly, the top 5% are the ones who are struggling the most, and the middle class and the lower class are doing fine. We disagree with that, and we're going to correct that a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what we did is we looked at, some of the JFO numbers and some of the money that could potentially be brought in with a high income tax. And we came up with some nice things that we think Vermont deserves that we could get with that money.
That's correct. And you can take certain percentages. So we're going to go to the top 5%. are due to get a $400 million annual tax cut from H.R. 1.
Right, from Trump.
From Trump. So if we recaptured that as Vermont state revenue, what could we do?
Yeah, some really cool stuff.
So this is a little fantasy segment. Andy and Joanna fix Vermont.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's our Robin Hood.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, Andy kind of explained this, but I just want to kind of like, the way I would, if this was like my campaign platform, and there are definitely some threads in here that are, that do echo my platform a little bit. But like, if I was talking to voters about this and we were serious about it, then it would be like, okay, Trump gave these tax cuts to Vermonters, and we're like, hey, Vermont actually needs that money, and here's the really great things we're going to do for Vermont with it.
Right.
That's how I would explain it.
Right.
Cool.
Want me to take that top item?
Yeah, take
All
that
right.
top item.
So remember, this is annual. So this is not a one-time buy down like they've been talking about in the legislature. This is annual. So
Right.
number one, take half of that money, $200 million, send it to the Ed Fund. That cuts property taxes for everyone in the state of Vermont by 10%.
Yes.
That's everyone.
Yes.
Lower class, even the top 1%.
Oh, yeah.
Residents, non-residents, small businesses, everybody gets a 10% cut on their property taxes.
Yeah, I think that would be very popular.
I do too.
Yeah, I love it. Should I take the second one?
If you would like.
So, this year, just this January, 30,000 Vermonters lost their healthcare subsidies, their subsidies to the Affordable Care Act. And I mean, I've talked to so many people who had absolutely eye-popping premiums now, unbelievably high cost of healthcare. Some people, especially younger Vermonters, are just like dropping off the exchange or just dropping their health insurance entirely. So we're like, okay, why don't we take $72 million out of that money and have a Vermont-funded subsidy to get those 30,000 Vermonters back on the exchange? And everybody wins that way because people get health insurance and, providers get paid and everybody wins.
And there's a bit of a benefit cliff in the natural ACA so that 50 to 65-year-olds tend to have earned enough money that they get nothing through that. So they end up paying a lot more. So 50 to 65-year-olds pre-Medicare age would actually benefit quite a bit from those restoration of Medicare subsidies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we'll roll back those lost subsidies.
Yeah. Get Vermonters
off to a
healthcare.
flying start.
I love it. I mean, I'm such a big fan of that idea, seriously, because it's like, it's also, I mean, saving on healthcare doesn't just save people their health. It also, pumps money back into the local economy through the healthcare providers. And it brings down healthcare costs for teachers, which contributes back to our property taxes. It's like, it's such a win-win-win, as Michael Scott would say.
Yeah. Right. And there's almost no age that you don't want people going to the doctor, but 50 to 65 is a particular area where you want people visiting their physician, having regular checkups, preventing those issues that are going to come up once they're on Medicare.
Yes, being on the cusp of that age myself.
That is correct.
Yes, I understand that. Okay, what's next?
So this is where we get a little creative here. We're going to take $60 million. We're going to create a grant program to create 20-unit mini, what am I struggling with?
Tiny homes.
Tiny homes. Thank
Yeah.
you. I couldn't think of the word.
Oh, and my handwriting is terrible.
That could be.
Yeah.
That could be part of it.
Yeah.
20-unit tiny home parks. We're going to create 30 of those per year. They'll be 50% grant funded and 50% from standard market sources. That would work out to a rent of about $650 per unit for Vermonters. Should be very affordable, particularly for young people just getting out of college, wanting to stay here, young couples getting started, and older couples older people looking to downsize from their large family home. Fits that gap. We're going to pump 600 tiny units. We're going to do 30 of those 20-unit parks per year, 600 tiny homes, flood the market, give people housing.
Yeah.
And when we stop hearing at doors, I can't find housing, and we start hearing my tiny home is too small, we can pull those tiny homes out of there. Those are hooked up for sewer and electric and gas and all that stuff, and we can build a single family home on it when we get to that point.
Yeah.
But we need to get people homes fast. this would be a way to do it.
I love it. I mean, I love that it's a sustainable, it's high density, it's community building. You know, I would love to live in a place like that, to be honest.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And I mean, it's something, tiny homes have always been sort of on the periphery of the housing conversation, but they could definitely be, they could also be cooperatives. I could see them being cooperatives.
And I really think you could put them in a rural community.
Yeah.
With on-site septic. You can put them right in an urban community, hook into the municipal sewer. I mean, whatever works. I think they could go anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay, so the next item on this list is $68 million for, I guess there's different ways to frame this. I had it written down as sort of a healthcare UBI. So the idea is that we would kick in, I had down here $1,030. Your first $1,030 of healthcare costs for 27 to 35-year-olds. So, like, it's sort of like if you have in your job like a flexible spending account, it would be like that. This would be like, okay, the state is kicking in your first $1,030 of healthcare costs this year. And I like the idea of this because it can hit and serve anybody regardless of your insurance status. And it's also saying, okay, we haven't quite gotten to universal primary care yet, but here's what we can do.
Yep. Yeah, and 27 is the age where you roll off of being able to be on your parents' insurance. So that's also the age group that is lowest to actually pay medical costs. They incur the least. You'll get some health benefits down the road from them actually having regular checkups throughout and getting them back in the pool. I mean, one of the things, we're in a bit of a death spiral with our medical our premium rates because we're losing young people. They're just not, as the costs go up and up, the young people calculate, I can do better just insuring myself. They drop out. And we need those young people in the insurance pool to lower the risk and lower the costs for all of us. So that focuses on that group.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, we had a few little pieces that we didn't fit into this puzzle, but I feel like could be like possibly swapped in or out. Or
The wild cards.
Wild cards. I really want to see us doing more on weatherization. I think that's a really good investment, but as you pointed out, we don't really have the workforce for that. But I like the idea of it still. Weatherization is good for sustainability, and it goes back into Vermont companies, and it helps people stay warm.
Yeah, and it's a lot of, sometimes it's lower income folks that have those homes that are poorly weatherized, and they could reap a lot of savings by having weatherized homes.
Yeah, it could actually potentially do a lot for renters specifically.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hear a lot about renters feeling overlooked. And, and so the last one on here, so we talk a lot about how part of the reason that the state of Vermont is so dependent on companies like Amazon is because there's these missing pieces, like gaps in the Vermont market that cut into our Vermont resiliency. Like a few months back, way before the campaign, I was trying to get binder clips for Phoenix, and that was when we were in the height of the anti-Amazon campaign. And I was like hell-bent on getting binder clips from like a local business, and it took a while. And anyway, I did find out that the little hardware store just off of Church Street has them, FYI.
Okay.
Yay. But what I learned from that is like we don't really have like a Vermont owned like office supply store or company really. And so that's just a good example of like if someone wanted to start up like a Vermont office supply store or company that, you know, different entities could order from, that's a huge missing piece of the market. So we could have economic development grants, that would fill those gaps. And not only would that help a company start up, but it would build a multiplier effect and ultimately build economic resilience in the Vermont economy. I don't know if I explained that well.
Well, and I think we've had that in place for agriculture for many years.
Oh, yeah.
Right, where you do want to be able to produce locally. And and that would be expanding it to different areas, retail and industrial.
That's a really good point. Yeah, it's all about being able to buy local
Sure.
and like be less dependent on companies that pull money out of Vermont
Right.
and trying to keep Vermont money in Vermont, particularly at a time when we have less money coming into Vermont.
Right.
So that's kind of the name of the game right now.
Yeah, and we're thinking about it all different.
Yeah.
Used to be money crossing state lines wasn't as big a deal, but now we're worried about it and our revenue. Yeah.
Yeah. That part's a bummer. But we're trying to fix
I know, right? Staying upbeat, fixing it, right.
This was fun.
Yeah, I think Vermont's been fixed.
Vermont's been fixed. You're welcome. Anyway, this was fun, and we really hope that you enjoy Anika's interview, and, we'd love to hear what you think about it.
Word.
Hello, and welcome to There's No A in Creemee. Anika Heilweil, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay, we're excited too. Okay, so we are here to talk about the Fair Share campaign. Will you tell us a little about Fair Share and what the Public Assets Institute is?
Definitely. Public assets is an economic policy think and do tank in Montpelier. We study a variety of economic indicators as well as state and federal tax and budget policies that impact Vermonters. So Public Assets is kind of the house of the Fair Share for Vermont campaign, which is a coalition effort that includes 15 prominent organizations and unions, and we're focused on increasing taxes on the wealthiest Vermont residents in order to raise state tax revenue.
Nice. Okay, talk to us about this, the state, I guess I would say, the state of the Fair Share campaign's bill that you've been working on this session. Like, where are we at right now?
So this legislative session, the Fair Share for Vermont campaign came in with a priority to basically recapture a portion of the federal tax cuts that were given to the wealthiest Vermonters as part of what folks are calling different things, the One Big Ugly Bill Act, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. I'm going to refer to it as H.R. 1. But basically what H.R. 1 was a massive transfer of wealth from everybody to the wealthiest Americans, including the wealthiest Vermonters. So due to the passage of H.R. 1, the top 1% of Vermonters are set to receive an average annual tax cut of $57,000 per year, beginning in 2026. In total, the top 1% of Vermont taxpayers are set to save a little over $200 million in federal taxes. The top 20% of Vermonters are set to save over $730 million in federal taxes just in 2026. So we went into this legislative session basically advocating for the state to recapture a portion of those federal tax cuts given to the wealthiest Vermonters in order to better mitigate the worst impacts of federal funding cuts. Basically, the federal government cut a lot of funding for really crucial services in order to pay for these massive tax cuts and to meet the needs that were already existing in Vermont before the second Trump administration. So this legislative session, we definitely had a bit of a roller coaster as far as the policy goes, where throughout the session, at the beginning, we were seeing that the policy wasn't getting a lot of airtime in committee. It was stuck on the wall, which basically means that the committee of jurisdiction wasn't spending a lot of time on it. And then there was a big movement from a couple of representatives halfway through the legislative session, basically showing that there was really clear support from legislators and from the public for this policy to be discussed. And then Ways and Means, which is the committee of jurisdiction, it's the tax writing committee in the House, spent a couple of weeks giving really serious consideration to this policy, but it did not end up passing out of the committee. So we're at a bit of an end of the road right now.
Okay.
So semantics here. We've talked about wealth tax and high income tax. What's the proper term? What's the difference?
Definitely. So what we're advocating for this legislative session are high income taxes. So that is only taxes on income. It's not taxing basically the base wealth that a person has. We are seeing some exciting movement in other states on actual wealth taxes. A wealth tax is basically taxing this base of wealth that folks have. All of these tend to be targeted on extremely wealthy individuals. So right now, the clearest example of that is this California ballot measure to tax the wealth of folks with over $1 billion. So when we're thinking about the difference between wealth and income taxes, high income taxes are very frequently called wealth taxes, but we like to describe them as high income taxes so that it's clear that we're trying to tax income in this moment.
Yeah, I really appreciate that framing because it is, I hear a lot of questions about the wealth tax, and so that's helpful to have the right language. Talk to us about the public benefits of this tax. What could we get out of it?
So right now, we are existing in a moment where there is clear need for revenue across a variety of different sectors. So one area that I would point to is transportation. We have clear unmet need in basically upkeeping our transportation, particularly our roads and bridges, things like that, which is something that impacts Vermonters every day, right? This is impacting all of us. Another area where we see clear needs in increased revenue is healthcare. So something that the Trump administration also was doing this year was not pushing for these ACA enhanced subsidies to be upheld, and therefore they fell away. So basically what that means is that a lot of Vermonters are uninsured compared to at this point last year. We've seen some clear movement for policies like this to infill basically those credits in order to make Vermonters whole and ensure that Vermonters are insured. And we're just seeing some general instability across our entire healthcare sector. We're also seeing clear needs for revenue in areas like housing, in areas like environmental resiliency, as Vermont is experiencing more floods. So kind of across the board, we're seeing that there are clear needs for revenue at a moment when, once again, the wealthiest Vermonters are getting really significant federal tax cuts.
Interesting. So it really is kind of an opportunity.
Right.
Well, I guess this is all those factors coming together, but this idea has been floated a little bit in the past, but this year it's gotten a lot more buzz, and there have been some surveys and polls done around favorability of this proposal. What have those found?
Yeah, so we got the results from a poll from the 2026 Vermonter poll a couple of weeks ago, which is something that is administered by the UVM Center for Rural Studies. And it showed that 80% of Vermonters support increased taxes on wealthy individuals and large companies. So this is really showing that this is a moment where the public very actively wants a policy like this. And this policy is imperative given Vermont's existing needs and basically the federal government pushing more and more costs onto states as they defund really key services that Americans and Vermonters rely on.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so what happened? Why don't we have a signed bill yet?
I think that a lot of this comes down to this belief that the governor would veto any legislation with progressive revenue. So that's based off of a long history of Governor Scott pushing back against any new revenue, including progressive revenue. I think that it's really important to recognize what we just talked about, that 80% of Vermonters support increased taxes on wealthy individuals. And we are in a moment when the federal government moved out of step with public opinion to pass massive tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans, including the wealthiest Vermonters. And we're at this moment when there's clear need for revenue. So I think that all of that points to the fact that we should all be pushing the governor to change his position on progressive revenue as something that is not meeting the moment and is out of step with public opinion. And I think it's really important that we recognize that the legislature should continue to work on bills that the governor has indicated that he may be opposed to, and basically have him make the final decision of whether he actually wants to veto something that, once again, is very popular and very necessary.
Sounds very familiar to something I've heard somebody say on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
Beyond the looming threat of a veto, what are the barriers to getting legislators on board with this? I
think it's important to recognize that we actually have a lot of legislators that are on board with this. We have a really strong group of legislators that are incredibly passionate about this policy and policies that would make Vermont more affordable and more livable for all Vermonters. I particularly would want to highlight Representatives Teddy Wazazak, Kate Logan, Tiff Bloomley, and Dave Iacovone, as well as Senator Tanya Vyhovsky, all of whom sponsored really crucial tax legislation this year, as well as Representatives Monique Priestley and Esme Cole, who fought for this issue to be considered in committee. And that's definitely not an exhaustive list of the legislators that are really excited about this and that are working incredibly hard for policies like this to be passed. So I wanna just mention that we are seeing a really large amount of support from legislators and from the public who has been contacting their legislators all session in support of policies like this. As we're thinking about basically growing the energy for something like this, I think it's really important for folks to continue to reach out to their legislators and to basically show that constituents are supportive of policies like this.
Now, a lot of those legislators you mentioned are Democratic or progressives. What's stopping Republican legislators from getting on board with this? I mean, a lot of voters switched and voted Republican in 2024 because they were burdened by taxes, and this could provide relief for a lot of Vermonters. Like, what's holding them back?
Right. So I want to mention that Public Assets is a C3 organization, so we're nonpartisan. But when we're thinking about kind of some of the things that make it difficult for some legislators to get on board, there's a few things that tend to be pointed to. One of them is this idea of no new taxes, which is a very blanket statement and doesn't recognize kind of the intricacies of taxation. So I think that it's important for us to be highlighting that we're really pushing for policies that would impact very few Vermonters while creating very real public good. There's also a lot of kind of anecdotal evidence and misinformation around something called tax flight, which is the idea that if we increase taxes on the wealthiest Vermonters, they will leave. There is a very significant body of research from a lot of different basically case studies across the country of states that have increased taxes on high earners, which has consistently shown that high-income Vermonters are very unlikely to move as a result of a change in their taxes.
If you're talking about additional taxes and revenue from 1% or the top 5%, that means that you can lower taxes on the 99% or the 95%, correct?
So the House Ways and Means Committee was actually looking at a couple different places to put this revenue. One was reducing taxes for folks making under a certain income threshold. The other piece that they were looking at was infilling these ACA lost subsidies. So I think that it's important to highlight that more revenue can make Vermont more affordable in ways other than just cutting taxes. There are certain things where it makes more sense for us to be pooling our money and paying for things as opposed to trying to pay for them individually, which is not always possible, thinking about things like road upkeep and whatnot. So I think that there are a variety of different ways that this revenue could be used in order to make Vermont more affordable that don't only include tax cuts.
Yeah, it reminds me of how Obama used to always say, there's some things we do better together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you have a follow-up?
No.
Sorry. Okay. Well, you brought up something that I wanted to pull on a little bit more. So, as everyone knows, I'm running for state senate. So I'm talking to voters a lot, and a lot of voters want this. I mean, it's pretty consistent. Once in a while, I do hear someone say, oh, but, all the rich people in Vermont are going to leave. So, I mean, it's funny, in preparing for this interview, I actually searched and I was like, are there actual, scenarios of that happening? And they're pretty hard to find in history. But I'm sort of curious. So what do you say when someone says to you, oh, but all the rich people in Vermont are going to leave?
Right. I think there's a couple things that we can point to. One thing that I want to highlight is that a group of wealthy Vermonters actually sent an open letter to the legislature and to the governor about a month ago.
My boss was one of them.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that we have wealthy Vermonters here who basically say that they want to be paying their fair share. They want to be putting this money into the public sector and ensuring that we are able to keep our state services running. And I think that points to the fact that more tax revenue can help all of us, right? When we're thinking about what we all want a good education system. We all want clean, vibrant downtowns where our small businesses are able to thrive. We all have these shared goals, and those can be helped with new revenue. Looking at the data side of things, I also point to the fact that data consistently show that increasing taxes on high earners does not cause an exodus in high earners from states. So there's a couple different examples that we can look at in very recent memory, and one of those is Massachusetts, where they passed a surcharge on income over $1 million a couple years ago. And what we have seen in Massachusetts is that revenue is far outpacing their revenue projections, and we have not seen anything near a mass exodus in wealthy folks from Massachusetts. We're seeing that the vast majority of folks are staying put. So when we're thinking about what will happen here if we were to increase taxes on the wealthiest Vermonters, I think that what we see is that arguments over wealth tax flight tend to be rooted in anecdotal evidence, right? Of these one-off examples of a wealthy person saying that if taxes go up, they will leave. But there is very little discussion of what the actual data show.
All right. Excellent.
Reminds me of all the people saying they're going to move to Canada if one election comes out this way or the other.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny. I always think like, well, if you want a lower tax version of Vermont, we do have New Hampshire next door, and people still choose to be here now. So I don't feel too worried about that, but it's good to have the information and make sure we know what we're talking about.
Right. And speaking of
No,
of our no income tax neighbor, so Vermont, as you mentioned, already has a progressive income tax code. And what we have seen from IRS data is that wealthy households are continuing to move into Vermont at a slightly higher rate than wealthy households are moving out, with the caveat that the vast majority of wealthy folks tend to stay put.
Yeah. Okay.
So it seems like these bills are not going to make it out of this session this year, but 80% of Vermonters support them. How do you move forward? Do you bring them back next time? Do you change the approach a little bit? Well, how do you move forward from here?
I think the great news is that there will be another legislative session beginning in January of 2027, which will present another opportunity to act on this legislation. So I think it's really important that folks continue to reach out to their legislators, continue to basically highlight this as a key priority from Vermonters. But this coalition will certainly continue to support increased taxes on the wealthiest Vermonters in order to raise state revenue.
Do you anticipate this being we have an election in between. Do you anticipate this being part of the conversation as candidates are weighed on either side?
I think that this will certainly be part of the conversation because it's also just part of the conversation of politics these days. You know, we see this in Vermont, but we also see this across the country. So throughout this legislative session, as these actions have been happening in the legislature, we have seen Vermonters reaching out to their legislators in droves. We've seen tremendous public support for these policies, which we're really excited about. And given the moment that we're in, where we're seeing these clear unmet needs, we're seeing an economy that just isn't working for a lot of people, while our federal government is handing the wealthiest Vermonters these massive tax cuts, I think that it is inevitable for this to be part of any political conversation right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You have answered some very tough questions with much style and knowledge. I'm going to ask you an easier question. So when you have some free time, I know you're busy with the legislative session, but when you have some free time and you get to go to one of our Creemee stands and order a Creemee, what do you get?
My go-to is a classic, simple maple Creemee. When I'm feeling a little bit adventurous, there's a Creemee stand near where I live called Lil Gordo.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure a lot of our
know
listeners also know of it. But when I'm feeling like I just need a big treat, I'll get a chocolate Creemee, and they have brownie bites, and I'll get it with brownie bites and fudge.
They have that as a topping?
They do, and it's fantastic.
Is that going to count as sprinkles or not sprinkles?
No, it's not.
It's not?
No,
I think it
ruling's
is.
been made.
Yeah. As a non-sprinkle
Can't
eater,
be
I
argued.
will say not sprinkles.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So we got a clear ruling. Yeah.
This was so amazing and informative. Thank you so much for coming on and for all your amazing work for Vermont.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun. It's great to chat with you guys.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode.
Thank you all for listening.
Follow us between episodes for the latest updates on our socials at There's No A in Creemee on Instagram, Substack, and Blue Sky.
And catch us on our next episode of There's No A in Creemee, Vermont Politics, Culture, and Beyond in Apple Podcasts and Spotify.